Hi guys, Caleb here, and I'm joined by my good buddy Dallas.
Hi.
If you haven't watched The Walking Dead yet,
Do it.
highly recommend it. It's a great series with him and me.
You don't have a choice. Do it.
Oh, you have to watch it, so just stop this video right now. Wait until after this video to watch it. So...
I'm kidding. You can... If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to.
I mean, I always tell people, I'm like, leave a like and a comment, or don't. I'm not your mama. Like, do whatever you want.
If you have said what, leave a like, comment, and subscribe.
If you're human, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not.
One of my favorite jokes from Castle Crashers.
Oh, okay, but today, this is a different video. It's going to be a vlog with actual video recording this time, so actual vlog.
Warning, we may cry.
Yeah, that's a possibility. For those who don't know, this is the situation. My best friend and his brother, is named Blac. Super awesome guy. Like, love him to death.
I don't think there was anybody that didn't like him if they knew him.
It's so crazy. Like, he wasn't like particularly... He wasn't the most open person in the world as far as like, but he was so loving and so goofy, and like everyone just loved him.
He was never really mean at all either.
He was so chill and so relaxed and like just loved to have fun. And he passed away about 2 years now.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years ago.
It feels like way longer though.
Yeah, when we were kids, he was diagnosed with diabetes.
He was 9, right?
Yeah, 9. I think so. Maybe even younger than that. Maybe he was 9.
I think he was 9, yeah.
I just remember that Blac wasn't at church, and I was like looking for him, and it's like, well, he's at the hospital, and you know they say that he has diabetes, and I thought he was gonna die, so I cried because I thought I was losing my best friend.
I wasn't even born then.
No, yeah, I wasn't alive, but crying in the womb. No, but
that sounds like a song.
Like a really edgy, like crying in the womb, like it's like single tear. It's like, what am I watching?
How did I find this?
Yeah, on the weird side of YouTube again. But we've been recording The Walking Dead together, me and Dallas, because me and Blac recorded a bunch of series on the channel. We recorded Castle Crashers, you mentioned. A few
things you watched, like, you did, like, one episode of it and then no more. Which is really funny to me, because it was just, I think it was Banjo and Kazooie you did that with.
Yeah, and see, the funny thing was with that, Banjo-Kazooie was the first game we recorded together. It was the first game that I recorded that actually made its way to the channel. But...
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was actually, that one was about, like, 6 episodes worth. But it was so hard to get him to talk that I literally just compiled it into like 30 minutes of video.
Okay.
Because I just kept the best moments. The same thing happened with Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah, that was the other one.
That was about 4 episodes. And there were so many long spans of time that were like awkward or boring that I just compiled it into one video.
That doesn't sound like him not wanting to talk.
Well, he was camera shy.
Yeah.
And not even that, he would get really focused when he was playing a game.
That definitely sounds like him. I could never play stuff like Call of Duty or anything with him. He would never be the type of brother to let me win. He would beat me and then laugh in my face.
Well, yeah, he was preparing you for some of the struggles of life.
I never wanted to play Super Smash Brothers with him.
Oh, man.
Played it with him once. He almost made me cry.
Blac was always... It wasn't that he was necessarily the most competitive person in the world, but he didn't hold back with that sort of thing. He really didn't. When he and I played Super Mario Brothers together, that was the most fun for me because he would just give it his all the time, and if that meant throwing me off the side of a cliff, like he would take that opportunity to take me and chuck me off the side of a cliff.
The king.
So when you chuck a character in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, they kind of spin in a downward arc, like it's like you're throwing them down. So you can grab a character, and if you're quick enough, you can chuck them off a cliffside, and like, you know. So I did that once to him, and he was like, You're gonna regret that for the rest of this playthrough. He did hold grudges. That was 100% something he
Definitely
did. But we just wanted to
laugh.
We just wanted to spend this video just kind of talking about him, talking about what he meant to us, some stories, that sort of thing.
Traumatizing experiences.
Yeah, some of the good stuff, some of the not so good stuff, but so hope you guys enjoy this video, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't remember, I know you don't remember when you met Blake because you were born.
I mean, I just always remember this weird kind of shaggy guy being in my life.
Yeah, hanging out at the house, like, what are you doing here?
I will say, there was a long, for like a year or two in my life, I honestly did not think he was actually my brother. I thought he was just some random person that was living with us.
Now, is he full blood brother, or is
we have different dads, but we have the same mom, so we were half brothers.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, go on.
That's how it is with all of my siblings. Like, both of my sisters and Blake, they had different dads, and my other brother had a different mom. So wait,
you and Blake had the same mom, different dads.
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to remember because my brothers, I always thought, well, half brothers in my mind, it just means that one of the parents have to be the same. So, like, my brothers are technically half brothers because we have the same dad. My two older brothers. Step brothers is really when you are married into it. That sort of.
So, kind of Zach, my other brother, him and Blake were step brothers.
Yes, and I grew up with both of them, and that's the thing about half and step brothers, especially when you grew up with them. They're just brothers. It's not. There's not really any disconnect, especially with you and Blake. And Zach too. But you two live together all your lives. So
I can barely remember any time that he wasn't around. When he was in college, but other than that, he was just always at the house.
I remember my Blake and I grew up together, and he was always my best friend. And there was spans of time where we didn't see each other or talk to each other because he was terrible about texting and calling, and so was I. So there was this long span of time where we were at the same church, which at the time was Carrichills.
Yeah.
And I moved to some different churches because we were trying to move around. That's basically where I spent all my time hanging out with Blake, was at church, because we didn't go to the same schools, didn't go.
Aren't you you were a grade ahead of him?
Yeah, I'm a year older than him. So he
and I always thought you two were the same age, same grade, everything.
We hung out, but the problem was, even Sunday school classes, there would be those awkward random years where I would be in the next class and he would still be in the last old class. Yeah. So sometime after, when we were kids, we'd stick to the rules very strictly, if I'm supposed to be in the next class, I would be, and I would hate it, but I would go through with it. But once we got older, we just kind of I would hang back a year. I would hang back a year, and then the next year we'd both jump forward,
So, how did you and him meet?
Well, I was just trying to think about that. Yeah. I know we were at Carrichills, and I know that your mother and my mother, I should say.
Your mother and his mother were
who's the same person, and my mother, who's a different person. They knew each other at church. My mom knew your mom, and so they. But the thing was, when I came to that church, I was in first grade, and when they were at the church, he was in kindergarten. So I know we met at that age, but I don't genuinely remember how. It was just kind of you hang
just kind of remember seeing him, then it jumps ahead.
Yeah, for real though. I remember so many of our adventures running around the church. For real, they were, to a degree. And the thing was, you just kind of grew up with the same kids if you go to a small, more or less country church. And Speaking of church,
weren't there incidents involving Blake at church multiple times?
Okay, so
this is a great way to start the story.
This is one of my favorite stories to tell. So basically, me and Blake, we at this point in the story, I had moved to the different churches. I had moved back to Carriage Hills, and then after that, Carriage Hills became DeSoto Hills.
Which is where we go now.
Moved to DeSoto Hills. It's a sister church. And which is where we go now.
Yeah.
And so still there all these years. I think they reached like the 10-year mark recently, or 12-year mark.
Wow.
Or like maybe it was like the 8-year mark. But the point is, it's like it's been longer than I even understand that it's been. But
It's been a while.
we were in high school, and we had this group called the Accountability Group, where what we would do is we would we would spend a night at the church, like once a month, maybe twice a month. Me and some really close friends of mine, really close brothers, basically, guys that we trusted them with everything. And we would tell them stuff in our life, good and bad. We'd tell them struggles we had, and we'd pray for each other, and we'd hold each other accountable, like text each other every now and then, that sort of thing. We would do a Bible lesson, and then after that, we'd play hide and seek in the church.
So this was you, Blake, and who else?
Oh, goodness. It was me, Blake, Baxter. That night probably was Austin.
Yeah.
Nick was there.
Yep. I remember hearing this story. Austin was there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember if Nick was there or not.
Yes, Nick was there. And so we'd play hide and seek. So the church is pretty big church. It's actually been expanded.
Bigger.
It's been expanded since then, but we haven't been back to play yet. But like,
It's gonna be a bunch of grown men running around the church, giggling like little girls. Not gonna catch me.
The last giggle was real. So we had flashlights and we played tag, and like you can kind of hide, but like you'd be found pretty quick, so you had to kind of keep moving. So we had like
most hide and seek.
Yeah, so we did it kind of the dumb way. We did it to where there was one seeker.
You were with Blake, of course. It was something dumb.
There was like one seeker and 7 hiders in like a church. Like the whole church was to us. So I hated being the seeker, but I loved it when someone else was the seeker because I could hide for a while. But so me and Blake would always team up, and we'd kind of always like sneak around the church, like we're crawling through the pews and like we're up in the choir area.
I imagine you being the seeker. Blake's like, hey, if you don't get me, I'll tell you where people are.
I knew all Blake's hiding spots too, so like I wasn't. If I couldn't find anyone, I'd go try to find him. But like, because he would wedge himself up like on a little like shelf, or would be hiding in one of the trash cans.
That sounds just like him too. That doesn't even surprise me.
So we had been walking around for a while, and we had bumped into Nick, who was the one trying to find us earlier, and he had already caught 1 or 2 people, so they were helping him as well. So because we were playing those rules, so me, Blake, and Baxter were all 3 walking down a hallway, and so Blake gets the just brilliant idea to take off his shirt. And I think it's hilarious, so I take off my shirt too. Of course, I've got like a white t-shirt on, he's got like nothing, he's just so then
I forgot that's how this story wound up.
So he like, ties around his like waist, I do the same. Then he starts taking off his pants, and I start taking off my pants, and like, cause I'm not about to be outdone by this scrawny kid. And like, so then he ties the pants around like his neck, and I do it around my neck like a cape, and we're in our boxers, wearing pants around our necks like a cape, and so like, Baxter thinks it's so funny. He's like giggling behind us, undoing his belt, like taking off his pants too, and we all 3 bolt around the corner and like just fly, like going twice as fast because of our capes we now have.
Of course.
Nick doesn't even chase us. He stops and he goes, "What the heck?" as we like fly by.
I can imagine Nick's voice saying it just like that.
What the heck? And so we're giggling as we like run by. We bolt into the hallway, and we're catching our breath. We're laughing. We don't even care if we're caught at this point. It was just too funny to see Nick's face. And then Blake looks at me and looks at Baxter and looks back at me, and he's like, "Hey, doesn't this church have cameras?" And we look at Baxter, and he has like all his clothes on and like a jacket he had been like carrying. He's like tucking in his shoe, and oh, it's so silly. It was so silly.
And Brother James never found out about that, did he?
He found out. Okay, so like, so our pastor at Blake's funeral, which, you know, super sad time. I actually, honestly, was in a pretty good mood that day, only because I had spent a week at the hospital with all of y'all and such. So, like, at that point in time, it wasn't that I was ready, but I was just...
It was just more happy to see all those people there.
Yeah, it was good to see all the friends and family.
That's how I was. Like,
people came in town.
I didn't realize he had as many friends as he did that cared about him that much. Like, from church, from camp, from school, just so many people showed up.
So, I don't...
Like, we occupied almost an entire floor just with people there for Blake.
It was crazy. And I
heard a lot of stories.
I don't think we mentioned this, but what Blake passed away from was a diabetic coma.
Yeah.
He was, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. I want to finish the story, but basically he had been in that coma for about a week, and we had to pull the plug, and it was really, really sad.
It was
easily the saddest time of my life. I mean,
same.
There's not been a competition at that, but
I mean,
but I just want to say, at his funeral, Brother James had grown up with him, or had, like, watched Blake grow up, because Brother James was the pastor at Carriage Hills when we were there, and moved with us to DeSoto Hills. Yeah, you didn't know that?
I feel like I've heard that, but I didn't remember that.
So Brother James has been the pastor of almost all the years of my life. Same with Blake. Yeah. Because Blake didn't, y'all didn't really move to different churches.
He's been the pastor as long as I've known.
Sorry about that. For the cut there, randomly, I realized that the phone had died for the last 10 minutes.
I forgive you.
The camera. So, because I went to go look for something, which I can't find at the moment.
Now, what were you looking for?
Okay.
Tell that later.
I will tell that once we show the thing over here. That they can actually clearly see. Hold on.
You see nothing.
Yeah. So, what I was trying to tell by the story is that Brother James was the pastor at the funeral, and he had known Blake for all of his life, so he was telling stories about how much he ate all the Taco Bell, and, like, Blake actually had a Taco Bell reef at the funeral.
Which was made of sauce packets and wrappers.
Sauce packet and wrappers.
Which my sister actually went to the Taco Bell nearby and simply asked for, hey, can I get some wrappers in this sauce?
Yeah, and, like, explained the situation, and they gave it to her. So, like, she...
Still mad they didn't cater it.
Made a reef. Yeah, I know, there should have been Taco Bell at the funeral, but, like,
Should I tell the joke again?
Which joke?
The one where you raise your hand, it's about him eating.
Well, you don't have to ask me to tell a joke. You can just say it.
So, you made a joke before.
Yeah.
Where it was like, would anybody like to come up and say a few words about Blake? A bunch of people raised their hands. Is it about him eating?
Eating was his favorite thing. And Taco Bell was his favorite restaurant. He
ate a lot of it.
I don't even know if... Do we even talk about... Oh, we haven't talked about this yet either.
Oh, yeah, we haven't.
It's fine. But,
you hit me. Abusive.
I'm just here to talk about my brother.
That'd be really sad.
No, you're hitting me.
My life sucks.
So Brother James talks about, like, Taco Bell and stuff, but then he starts to tell that story I told you about, like, us running through his church basically naked. And I was, like, red in the face, like, slouched down in the pew.
It's not any less funny.
It's a funny situation that he told everyone at the church that we ran around his church naked. And, he's, like, talking about the boxers and stuff, and, like, how he had the pants wrapped around her. And, he didn't mention my name or anyone else's other name. He just mentioned that Blake did it with some buddies. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm like, thank you. Like, thank goodness.
Just imagine sitting there, your mom slowly looks at you. So, Caleb.
Well, Mom probably already knows, and if she doesn't, everyone that watches this video will know. So, kind of incriminating, but speaking...
Not any more incriminating than...
Speaking of incriminating, do you mind showing my little souvenir over here? So, before anyone...
this is an unboxing now.
Before anyone arrests me, let me explain the situation.
Just a cop randomly shows up at your house in the middle of this video.
I'm sorry,
Caleb.
Watching the YouTube video, and don't say my last name. It's fine, I said it in another episode. But, anyway. Don't. After I show a stop sign, don't say my full name. Yeah, so anyway, his address is... so that's not mine, that's actually Blake's. One time I went to his
So
apartment.
I should say Blake.
Yeah, why would you say that? Don't say that. I'm bleeping out every time you say that stuff, so please don't do
It's
that.
gonna make that so much worse.
No, because I'm gonna ignore it and avoid it, and like it's gonna. Don't, please don't do that. Anyway,
I apologize.
It's all right. I already had to bleep out when I said Nick's last name.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Doesn't matter. But
Just bleep out the last name.
oh yeah. So anyway, point is, idiot.
I am though.
No, it's fine. We both are. Speaking of idiots, Blake had found this stop sign. Found
You're
it.
so clearly ADD.
Yeah, I can definitely see your ADHD and my ADD, which is why you need to go watch Walking Dead again.
Yes.
But me and Blake, I go to his apartment and he has a stop sign sitting in the corner, and I'm like, where in the world did you get an actual physical government property owned
Giant
stop sign, like legit stop sign? He was like, you know, you made the joke I found it, but like basically he was like,
You basically found it.
he was like, it was on the side of the road, and I think it might have actually been somewhat attached to the pole, but it was either hanging off, dangling off the pole, because it was on an old country road back where we went to school, as well as it was an old stop sign on an old pole, either that or it had fallen to the ground. I forget how the story goes, but basically he saw it, and he saw it wasn't being used, and he's like, I want that stop sign. And
I'ma take that.
I'm gonna take that stop sign. He wasn't necessarily a kleptomaniac.
Nobody can stop me.
He wasn't necessarily a kleptomaniac, but
He wanted it, he took it.
if he wanted it, he took it, which is why what I was trying to find earlier, and I wanted to give one more quick look around before...
If your phone dies this time, it's something wrong with this house. This house is haunted.
I'm gonna walk by... Oh, the phone's dead again.
The ghost got us. Time to call Sam and Dean.
Okay, I can't find it. But basically, I have... It might still be in my car. I have this sign from a restaurant that says all employees must wash your hands before returning to work. And it was in Blake's bathroom for the longest time because him and...
Of course, another sign.
Him and Miranda had gone to a restaurant and the service was terrible and everyone was mean and the food was bad, and Blake walked to the restroom to wash his
Taco
hands
Bell.
before leaving, and he was like, I'm taking this. I'm taking this because service was terrible, and he just took it, and like no ramifications for all
I
these
just picture
crimes.
him walking out with it above his head. Just nobody cares. They're just like, whatever.
I'm taking this.
This is mine now, just like a little kid.
So the stop sign, he took it and he put it in his apartment, and so I ended up getting it, and my dad hates it because obviously I'm not supposed to have it, but I didn't take it, and I have no clue what road he took it from. So even if they didn't replace the stop sign, since this thing has like been in his possession for a year, it doesn't say it on the back. So
don't want to check.
like an address or something. Like,
You never know.
Leave it like on the curb, like leave it in a basket at the police station. And it's like, oh, look at this cute little guy.
It's just a blanket over it. That's a big.
That's a big baby. Oh, that's a stop sign.
That's one big baby.
So anyway, that was the story I tried to tell, and then I went looking for the sign, and that's when I realized
Then
the phone had
went
died.
goodbye.
Yeah, but it's working fine now.
Yeah, hopefully.
I want to say that you're wearing the Blake's Batman shirt, and we're both wearing the Blake's Batman bracelets.
Yeah.
Because we did a, like, this 2K, 5K, whatever it was, walk for diabetes.
Can I, like, kind of explain what... Okay, so Blake did a lot of stuff with JDRF, which is... What does it stand for? Do you know?
I have no idea, but it's, like, it specializes in diabetes,
Yeah, it
basically.
focuses on diabetes and finding a cure. So every year they have a walk to raise money to find a cure. And after Blake passed away, we made the team Blake's Batman because I don't know if we have it in the video or not, where you said that
don't.
his favorite things were Batman, eating, and Taco Bell.
And pink, yeah.
Yeah, and pink.
So we got the pink shirts, the pink
The
bracelets.
color, not the musician.
Although he was somewhat impartial to the musician. And that's why...
So this could also kind of be a, kind of an awareness thing,
That's interesting. I didn't think about it like that. Because I don't... Unfortunately, I have no idea if we mentioned this in the video about how Blake passed away from diabetic
coma. Yeah.
If we did, I apologize. We lost like 10 minutes of footage, so I have no clue what we lost.
If we repeat stuff, we apologize.
Yeah.
It was...
So Blake was in a coma in the hospital for a week, and that's
I think he talked about him being diagnosed and the whole thing.
I did talk about him having diabetes, but I didn't talk about that it was a coma that he had passed away from. And that was how Brother James found out about the story, was because I told Miss D and Miss D told him.
For those of you that don't know, Miss D is my mom and Blake's mom.
Yes, that same woman. Same,
not a different one.
Not a different mom. But yeah, you wanted to tell a story, one of your stories.
So, this story, it's going to be kind of short. Basically, Blake, he liked to set fires. You know what story I'm telling?
I've got another story, but yeah, go on.
Oh gosh. So, apparently...
Unless this is the same story.
This might be.
Probably.
Apparently, at one point, I think him and his girlfriend broke up. And he had this metal bucket that he decided to put like all the pictures and stuff in and set on fire.
I remember this story. It's not the same story, but please continue.
He set a fire in his room, and there's now like a circle where the carpet is burned. And my mom did not know about it until after he passed away.
Did he move like a rug over it?
He put a rug over it, and then when he got a new bed, and he put his bed over it, so she would never find it.
That's amazing. Continue if you
And yeah, so nobody knew about this until after he passed away.
Really?
Because I can't remember who told us. I think Miranda might have told us.
Oh my gosh.
Which is still one of the funniest things to me, that Miranda, his new girlfriend, had to tell us about this.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I was gonna tell the cherry story, and I still want to. But I'm going to tell
a fire story?
A fire story.
There's a lot of those, probably.
At the college. So at this point in time...
Oh, I know which story you're talking about.
I was a sophomore in college, and Blake was a freshman. And the first year of college was pretty miserable because I was there by myself. But the second year... Him, our buddies Nick and Jenna and Lexi, like they all came to church, all came to the college at the same time. All of us church friends, and so I was like, "This is so cool! Like all my friends are here,
church buddies,
yeah." And so I would hang out with Blake all the time because now instead of just being at church together, we were like
at college together.
We were at college together, and it was like much easier to just spend all the time together. We went to lunch every day together. Like, it was amazing.
That'll lead into another story.
Yeah, it will. But one day
one of my favorite stories too.
So he and our buddy Nick had a room together. I don't even know if Nick knows this story. If you're watching this story, Nick.
I feel like you do. If he didn't know it, he found out about it.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure. Nick's very smart. But
I thought you and Blake roomed together at one point. Did you not?
We did.
You did? Okay.
But it was my sophomore year because freshman year, freshmen have to dorm together. And we were a year apart. So his first year, I should say, he roomed my buddy Nick because he wasn't allowed to room with me. But then after that, he roomed with me. And then shortly after that, he dropped out of college. So he... for like a short period of time doing his job, that sort of thing. Excuse me. Anyway, thank you. He was there at college for a few years, but I forget all the timeline stuff of everything. Anyway, not the point. Point is that he
love this story.
He had a ping pong ball with him that he had been bouncing around.
Really quick. Yes. I want to tell you, after he passed away, I was kind of looking at through some of his stuff. I can't remember what I was looking for. I was trying to find something. And I found a Walmart bag full of ping pong balls.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
I believe it. He said he would.
Wait, what?
So hold on. I'll get to that.
Pause this.
So So Blake had this ping pong ball and he kept bouncing and whatever, but it had a dent in it, so like it was like messing up. And he was doing this in him and Nick's room because I would go over there almost every day to hang out with Blake. And so he was messing with it. And I was like, you know that ping pong ball has a dent in it? He was like, yeah, but like I read on iFunny that like you can
read on iFunny. Keywords on iFunny.
Hold on, like that you can pop out the dent by putting a lighter under it. Don't recommend doing this, by the way. Don't do this, kids at home.
Please don't.
Please don't.
Even adults at home, don't do this.
Don't do this. So he's like, if you put a lighter under a ping pong ball, it will expand the air in the ping pong ball and it'll unpop the dent. And I'm like, that sounds very logical. Cause it
you
does.
Encouraged
no, because it's based in science. Like, of course the air is going to expand.
He read it on iFunny.
I didn't know he had read it on iFunny at the time. He just said he read it on the internet. That's a very different place. Not the point. Point is that this man takes the ping pong ball, he brushes a lighter under it like 2 seconds, and it bursts into flames. Because we didn't know this, but the plastic of ping pong balls and like I guess the air that's inside of them is extremely flammable. Had no idea about this.
So I know exactly what happens. When he did this, the fire shot out of the ping pong ball like a rocket.
It engulfed the ping pong ball, and he quickly dropped it because he was scared, and it dropped on the ground, and Blake like immediately goes to stomp it out. He stomps on it, and it's still a ping pong ball, so it shoots out from under his foot under the desk. And Blake is like freaking out. He goes under the desk trying to hit it out, and I'm just sitting there just staring, not doing anything. I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. Like I don't know how to feel. So like he stomps it out, and like at this point the ball has been entirely engulfed in flames, so it's like charcoal now. And there's like a spot on the ground underneath the desk. Smoke is like starting to come up, and like I just started laughing so hard. It was amazing. It was the best thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. He's like, dude, shut up. And I'm like, I'm laughing. And he's like, come on, man. Like, open the door, fan it, something. Like, do something. He's so mad. And I'm just rolling. And I'm like laughing. I just opened the door. I'm still laughing. Like, I'm just like, and oh my God, it was so funny. And so we decided that he knew of like a bunch of different places to collect ping pong balls around campus and other things. So he was going to get a bag of them, and we were going to go out to a parking lot one day and throw fireballs.
What? and so, you encouraged this?
No, I just was like, I'm not saying we should ever light a ping pong ball on fire again.
But I'm not saying we should.
I'm just saying that I've always wanted to throw a fireball in real life. You know, like Super Mario. So
fair enough.
So I'm not saying.
Okay, Caleb.
You scamp. So that was that story. Do you have another story you want to share before I tell the cherry story?
Yes. You haven't heard this story.
Yep.
This is the cannibal story.
Oh God.
So you already know it's going to be great.
I think I just keep telling it all.
I hate this story because it involves me being traumatized.
Yeah.
So I'm in elementary school, and we lived in apartments at that point. So I'm in elementary school. I think my sister was in middle school, and Blake was in high school. So they both got home before I did, and so they're both home. And Blake had this gummy hand that looked like it was somebody's hand that had been cut off, and it, like I said, it was gummy. So I get home, and he had told my sister Taylor to hide.
Oh no!
So
for real?
I'm dead serious.
This is amazing. This is exactly what Blake would do. By the way, I 100% believe this story.
I walk in and he's sitting in the middle of the floor. I can't tell what he has, and he's just eating something. So
sitting on the floor eating the sand.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell what it was.
That's amazing.
Because the lights were all off, and I just opened the door to see him sitting in the floor like a gremlin, just eating something.
That's amazing. I've never heard the story before.
And I don't see my sister anywhere, so I'm just like, where's Taylor? And he flat out just goes, I'm eating her, and then takes a bite. So then I start crying and screaming, and I like curl up in a ball up next to the door. He walks over and tries to like calm me down, and I'm like swinging at him like, no, get away
Don't eat me!
And then my sister comes out, and I just got my eyes shut, just swinging. So finally, I reach up, open the door, and run outside. As I run out, I slam the door behind me, and I'm just like across the hall, sitting there in a ball, just crying until my mom gets home. Like, I sat there for at least an hour outside, just crying.
That's amazing.
And to this day, I hated him for that, because it traumatized me.
I'm eating.
I didn't want to be near him for about a month after that.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I cried.
That's amazing. That's so great, though.
I mean, now looking back, it's hilarious, but at the time, that was the meanest thing he had ever done to me.
That's amazing.
Because, like I said, I was sitting outside.
So clever.
I was outside of our neighbors across the hall from us, crying for about an hour.
Oh my gosh. Oh
my mom gets home to me just sitting outside crying, and she's like, what happened? And I can't even calm myself down to tell her.
Because he had just eaten your sister.
As far as I knew, he did. Because like I said, my sister had come out.
You were a dumb kid.
My sister had come out of the room she was hiding in, and I had my eyes shut trying to not look at him. And I was just swinging, so all I know is somebody walked over.
Scarred you for life.
He did.
Oh my
And then,
God. That's amazing.
Not long after that, we started watching my brother and my mom started watching The Walking Dead, so, nope. That was a lot of nope.
That's amazing. I can picture Blake doing all this stuff.
Like literally sitting in the floor just like a gremlin, just like I'm eating her.
The fact that he sat in a dark room waiting on you to come in while he's eating a gummy hand just goes to show the levels that he would go to for a prank.
Okay, this was like I think towards the beginning of the school year, and he had that thing since like Halloween the year before.
So there would be no tie or connection in your mind to like him eating a gummy Halloween hand.
There wasn't. Because he had it so long, I just assumed he wouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
He finally found a use for it in the form of torturing me.
I want to tell. We need to like wrap up the video sometime soon.
I have more stories.
Well, let's keep telling stories then. I have the cherry story, but help me remember. I also have the Santa's coal story.
Santa's coal.
Santa's coal. And I think I had another one, but I'll remember if it comes to me.
What's the Santa's coal story?
I don't think you know that one. It's not as like huge as the other stories have been, but neither is the cherry cobbler one. So
the cannibal one was a big one.
That is downright disturbing. And the prank war with him and Nick remind me of that.
Oh gosh,
too.
that sounds amazing.
So like so we were at lunch one day, and
this is my favorite.
We had
story.
gotten our food, and like we both went through the line, and like the lunch in the college we went to was basically set up like a buffet. You at the time you couldn't help yourself to all the food you wanted. Actually, in the most recent years, it is like actually a buffet.
Okay.
But like you could go through different lines and like get what you wanted, and you'd sit down. None of the like Chick-fil-A, like nice college campus stuff. It was a private college, so they had like the burger line, the pizza line, that sort of thing. So we get our food, we both get dessert, which I knew immediately was a cherry cobbler, and I assumed that Blake also knew that he had grabbed a fresh bowl of cherry cobbler. So we both go
delicious.
So we both go and sit down. And I love cherry cobbler. Cherry cobbler is probably my favorite. I had no idea at this point in time that Blake was not his favorite. And so we sit down and we're eating, and he grabs his dessert like a smug little jerk, and he's just like, I bet I could eat this faster than you. And I'm like, I bet
not
you can.
racing you.
I was like, I bet you can. I'm not gonna race you for food. Like, that's just not happening. He was like, all right, well, I'm gonna do it. And
I'm gonna race myself.
I'm gonna race myself. And if you don't do it, then you're an idiot because like you didn't race me.
That sounds just like him.
And I'm like, I'm like, fine, I'll eat it.
Blake.
I'll eat it because it's delicious, but I'm not gonna race you. So he's like, all right, well, I'm still doing the race anyway. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Bloop, bloop, bloop. He had gotten 3 scoops in. This man had like shoveled 3 pretty big scoops of chicken covered his mouth. And
I
he's
just
like,
picture his eyes just.
yeah, his eyes like grew so wide. And I take my first bite and like it's really good. And I stare at him and I'm like, what is? I'm like, what is wrong with you? And he's like, what flavor is this? It's cherry. I don't like cherry. I'm like, no, you eat that. You eat that. You wanted to race. You eat the cherry cobbler. And he swallowed it, but he did not eat anymore. He did not like cherry. And I had no idea about this.
That is my favorite story ever.
It was amazing because he goes, blop, blop, blop. What flavor is this?
See,
with
the best
mouth
part
full
about that
cherry.
is that is such a Blake thing to just like shovel food in his mouth without realizing what it is.
No questions about it. And then he regretted it. It's a good one for sure.
Dang, what was the story I was gonna tell?
I don't know.
I have one about something I did to him that I think he hated me for the.
What?
So. My grandma had a house out in like out by where he's buried. Where?
Yeah, I got you.
Out by where he's buried. Mm-hmm. And
which is a very long drive from here.
It is.
Yeah.
And we would go out there like on weekends and stuff and spend the weekend out there, and we were roasting marshmallows and doing s'mores. Well, we had like wire hangers or something. May not have been wire hangers, but it was some kind of like thing to put the marshmallows on to, roast them. Well, I had mine and I held it in the fire. And for some reason, my young mind, do you know where this is going?
Were you about to poke this man with a hot rod?
For some reason, my young mind, the first thing
I'm gonna brand my brother.
The first thing that came to mind was, I'm gonna burn Blake with this. And I'm like, I think I actually did burn him, but I chased him around the fire for a good maybe 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
With this hot metal object.
One time my little brother came at me with a shovel because he thought that was funny. And I'm like, this is not funny. You're swinging a shovel at me.
I immediately just imagined that video. That video where the girl throws the shovel at the other girl. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah. Oh my gosh. So the Santa's Coal story is another food-related holiday story.
90% of stories about Blake are food-related.
Are food-related. I actually have, real quick,
way.
this isn't even a story. I'm going to just interject real quick. One time, me and Blake were on a trip, and he had these nachos, and we were walking back to the bus, and he was like, I'm gonna race you, but the first one back to the bus gets these nachos. And I didn't even want the nachos. I just wanted to prove that for a fat kid, I could outrun his scrawny little self. Because he was always calling me fat, and I was always calling him short. Because at the time, that's just what we did. Like, I was fat and he was short. That's just the end of that story.
That sounds like a cop movie. Fatty and Shorty.
Fatty and Shorty. So I bust it for this bus and I wipe him out in the race. He stops running because he knows he's not going to catch up to me, and I feel so triumphant because you can ask like just about anyone that's seen me run. I'm a really good sprinter. I don't have endurance, so I can run really fast for short periods of time. So I just book it to the bus and I'm just pushing myself as hard as I can to get there. And he goes and he just like yells out, "Great win, fatty!" And I just stop and I start laughing. I like kind of hunker down right before the bus, and he like kind of jogs up, and I reach the bus before he does. I'm just laughing. He's like, "I don't even want your nachos, jerk." And like, anyway, the Cole story is
great job, fatty.
Great job, fatty. The Cole
he was such a sore loser.
Oh my gosh, he was like one of the most sore losers I've ever seen in my entire life. He wasn't competitive until you won. Then all of a sudden it was nothing but competition. Like it was like he had to win. So we were sitting in youth one day at church, and Wednesday night.
It worries me that this
church.
starts at church.
And a lot of the stories end up involving food and church and just terrible things. And
Traumatization.
it was the summer, late summer, and he hands me a bag of candy, and it says Santa's coal on
That,
it.
like, gum stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what it's supposed to be. And it but the thing was, it was late summer, and he had gotten it like before Christmas. So it had been been like 7 months, 8 months since he had gotten the thing. And I'm like, what? I'm like laughing. I'm like, what is this? He's like, he turns to me. And he's like, it's gum, you want some? And his mouth is completely black. His teeth are black. His tongue is black. Like, his lips are black.
That's what that stuff would do to you.
I know. And I'm like, you look like an idiot. I'm laughing. Like, I'm trying to be quiet because it's like we're in church. It's like during worship and everyone's singing around us. And I'm just like, you look like an idiot. Is that Christmas candy? And he's like, it's so bad. But like, if you want it, I'll give you some. And I'm like, yeah, give me some.
It was so bad.
So he pours it in my hand and I eat it. And it is hard like coal. Because keep in mind, this candy is like way older than it should ever be and still be consumed. And I'm chewing it. And I'm like, but after you chew it a while, it kind of softens up. So I'm starting to chew it. And I'm like, oh, this tastes bad.
It always tasted
it's
horrible.
so bad. And he's like, yeah, right. And I'm like, give me some more. And he's like, all right. So like we split the rest of the bag, and we're both
It's
chewing.
so bad. Give me more.
We're both chewing on this like our teeth are black, and like we're just smiling at each other.
They're also broken.
Like, it's blood. No, like we were just
It's
chewing.
so bad.
We were chewing and laughing and smiling at each other because we both knew how terrible the situation was, but we both loved it. It was great. So much fun.
It's gum. You want some?
Sorry, that's the garage. And he's like, you want some? His mouth is just black. Like he'd just gotten the black plague. Like bubonic plague from
it looks like the demon that throws up the stuff in Supernatural.
Yeah. Oh, I had to share. Sorry, the garage. I had to share that one.
I'm so glad you did, because I've never heard that story, and that made me so happy.
Oh, I never heard the cannibal story. That was a really good one.
It traumatized me.
I will say, this isn't really a story, but I will say that he and Nick, when they roomed together, they started a prank war. No. I'm sorry. Okay, well, yes, Nick and Blake pranked each other all the time because Nick thought it'd be funny to prank Blake one time.
Mistake.
And Blake holds grudges.
Mistake number one.
So Blake was constantly pranking him all the time. In fact, even one time, Blake, the bed that they were on, a bunk bed, was slightly off the wall. So Blake tucked himself between the wall and the bed so he could, like, facing the bed. And so you can't see him when you enter the room. And Nick slept on the bottom bunk. So he would walk in, he'd see that that Blake's not in there, and he'd go to sit on the bed to go to turn on the TV. And so Blake reaches over and, like, keep in mind, Nick almost has his back to the wall. He's like sitting on the bed. No one is in the room with him. So like all of a sudden this hand grabs him on the neck and he screams bloody murder and jumps up and like almost hits his head on the bed, and like Blake is rolling, like untucking himself from the bed like a monster, like laughing. And so stuff like that happened all the time. But what was really funny was when I was it was during the same semester, during the same year, and he was still rooming with Nick. I was rooming with my buddy Jay. Well, my buddy Jay ended up becoming good friends with Nick. So, like, I was friends with his roommate, whatever. Like, it was a cool situation. But the thing was, they started a prank war. And their pranks...
Wait, pranks between them two?
Pranks between them two.
Okay.
So, Jay, my roommate Jay, and his roommate Nick... and I don't even know if Jay knows this story, or I don't even know if Nick knows this story. But the point is that they were doing pranks on one another, but it was like silly little doofy pranks, like, you know, like, oh, haha, your roommate let me into your room, and I like left a goofy note on your desk, or like, oh, I.
So not really pranks.
Yeah,
just kinda
more like goofs, just kind of goofs. Yeah, getting at each other. Well, me and Blake immediately saw the opportunity to screw with our roommates. So what we would do is we'd start leaving stuff in our own rooms that was like much more prank based, and we would say like, yeah, Nick was over earlier, or like, yeah, Jay was over earlier, and we would blame the other roommate. And so their break started to escalate a bit because like they were trying to get back at each other for over escalating the pranks, and it was amazing because we both had access to each other's rooms. We both had access to let the other roommates in. It was perfect. It was wonderful. I had so much fun with that. I didn't really do much. It was mainly Blake that screwed with Nick, but like he would always say it was Jay. And so like I don't know if we ever I'm pretty sure that we told them after a while, but like I don't know if we did or not. I mean they weren't mad at each other, so it was funny to us. Oh man.
I have a kind of a good story now. One that's not Blake being cruel and eating. So
that's a rare one. Go on.
Yeah, it is. You make a joke about that, but it's true.
Not wrong.
So when I was younger, I didn't really have many friends because one, I didn't like talking to people, and two, people didn't like talking to me.
Fair enough.
So
same.
I was always by myself. So I was at home one day, and I was just kind of sitting in my room, and I was playing with these toys I had. Well, Blake walks in, and he's like, "You want me to play something with you?" I'm like, I got so happy. Like, I bet if he could tell you, he could say that my eyes lit up. And it was just like such a little kid thing. So I was like, yeah. And he was like, all right, we'll come up to my room. And I had these two big, like, you know the Rubbermaid tubs they have? Yeah. I had like these two big Rubbermaid tubs that I dragged up the stairs to his room. And I was so excited. And we spent like about 2 hours just playing with toys. And
that's awesome.
And it made me so happy.
That's so awesome, buddy. That's great.
Now back to normal Blake.
Yeah, back to the Blake we all actually knew. He was honestly the thing, and we'll probably do actually need to wrap up the video now. Probably. But the thing about Blake was he was goofy, and he wasn't always open about things.
He wasn't.
I constantly told him I loved him, and he constantly told me he loved me, but like it was more like a goofy like love you,
buddy.
Like yeah, like it was like he was my brother too, and I ended up getting to know you guys through him more.
And I'm glad that we got to know each other.
Yeah, because like especially now that after his passing, like you and I have connected a lot more, especially with like the series and you watching his series on the channel. And
it's also kind of cool to see like how things from him have rubbed off on you. Like you do his kind of goofy voice.
Well, yeah, and
it's the same way with me. Like I've gotten things from him that I have started doing without even realizing it.
A lot of your mannerisms are very similar to his, and my voices when I'm like, like, oh, I hate Cherry, like, love you, buddy. Like, those voices he and I developed together. Like, there was a long period of time where we did, like, this fake Peter Griffin, like, like, hey, buddy.
I just randomly thought of, good job, fatty.
Good job, fatty. So we did these voices together all the time to the point that people thought I was doing a good impression of Blake, but like that was just the voice that he and I did all the time, and like that was just
the Blaleb.
Yeah, the Blaleb voice. Yeah, our ship name. Anyway,
or Clayton.
Clayton. Now I'm thinking like Clay Aiken or like Clayton or like some weird. Anyway,
Peyton Manning.
So, for real. So Blake was, he wasn't very open with things, but he was super sweet, super loving.
He was there for you when you needed him?
Oh, 100%. Like, he would do anything to make sure his friends were taken care of.
As much as he tortured me, at the same time, he was like a brother to me. Like, if I was ever upset about something, he would be like, hey, what's wrong? And then he'd be like, well, you're just being a baby, get over it.
Yeah, suck it up.
Like... But at the same time, he would actually help me out, and, he was there for me.
Yeah.
And, wow, towards the end of the video is when I'm really starting to feel like I might cry.
Yeah, I know. It's, I did want to, I don't know how much of this I want to talk about, but, like, when I, not trying to make you cry, just, like, trying to share, like, how I felt and what happened. Blake was my best friend, 18 years of my life. And, the thing was he wasn't just my best friend. For a long period of time, he was my only friend. And he was there for me whenever I needed him, and he always took good care of me. and he made a lot of mistakes in his life, and I did too. But like, he helped me learn from his mistakes, and I helped him
learn from his.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you know,
I understand. But it's just funny.
We had each other's back, and I was on vacation to the Smoky Mountains with my family.
Oh, and I forgot about that.
Our friend, a friend of ours named Becca, she called me and said, "Hey, okay," because earlier that day, Miranda had called me and was asking if I was anywhere near Clinton to like check on Blake, and I'm like,
he like wasn't answering phone calls.
He wasn't answering phone calls, and she was in a completely different state, starting up school because she like had did this new school program thing.
And the thing was, beforehand, he had been kind of sick, I think.
He had been sick, and like he was dealing with a lot of stuff, and so she wasn't getting any answers. And I'm like, well, you know, he loves to sleep. And she's like, yeah, but like it's been like 24 hours and I haven't heard from him. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna get a hold of someone to go check on him, and I'm sure everything's fine, but like I don't want you to worry about it. And we both knew that Blake hated people trying to take care of him. Like he couldn't stand it.
He couldn't stand it if you cared about him.
Yeah, he's like he's like,
don't care about me.
What are you doing? Get off me. I'm trying to like sleep forever over here.
I'm trying to hibernate.
Yeah, right. But like so we sent some buddies over, and the door was unlocked, and they walk in, and he's just unconscious on the couch, and they get him to the hospital. Becca kept me updated later that night, but she told me like it wasn't looking good, and she was trying to explain to me like it, you know, at the moment it seems like he's in a coma, and I'm like, this is the last day of my vacation, keep in mind, and like I'm trying to enjoy time with my brother and my niece at the time, and I'm just devastated. And the weird thing about this trip was I hadn't watched Supernatural for a long time. Super random. I know we talked about it a little bit, I think, Supernatural in the beginning of the episode. Maybe we didn't. The point is that Supernatural was the first show that me and Blake binge watched together. It was the first show that he got me into that I actually watched. And so Supernatural is a very important series to us. And right at the beginning of that trip, I started rewatching Supernatural from the beginning, not because of anything. Like at this point, nothing was wrong. I was just rewatching it just because I wanted to.
Yeah.
So like by the end of the trip, I had already watched like the first like season because I was binge watching it during my free time, and I get the call about Blake like, you know, being in trouble in the hospital. So we rush home.
Didn't the first season end with them in the hospital too? Like
I don't remember.
I think
maybe it did.
Dang.
Maybe because that's when John left because he made the deal with the... No, actually, I don't know. I mean, I've seen two. That doesn't matter.
We're getting too into Supernatural right now.
Yeah, like, thank you for joining our Supernatural talk.
Talking Supernatural.
The point is that we get home, and that's when I think they actually told me that he was in a coma. It was a coma because we weren't sure, and like there's just different things. He just seemed like he was unconscious, and I just fell to my knees in the kitchen and just started bawling my eyes out and just yelling like I just want to die. Like it was the hardest. It was the worst phone call I'd ever gotten in my life. Like it was like, I didn't even get it. Like someone called my mom because they didn't want to talk to me about it. And I was just devastated. And I immediately started throwing my stuff in a car. And I'm like through tears. I'm just like, I've got to get there. I can't not be there. I have to be there for him. And so Dad like immediately like stops me and like starts moving the stuff to his car, and he's like, I'm driving Caleb over there. Like I still have a few days off of work, you know, we'll be back. And so we just book it to Clinton, where he was. And I stopped crying on the trip, but man, when I got there, the waterworks started back, and just walking into the hospital, everyone greeted me like I was a celebrity, you know? I mean, like, because like everyone was there for you guys and for Blake, and like the whole family was there, and a ton of Circle K members and friends and people from
JDRF
from
school,
like
just all
college.
kinds of stuff.
All these people were there. Like, legitimately, when you said we basically took up a floor,
we literally took up most of
like the entire lobby area of one of the floors. We were just like all
filled.
in it. Like, it was like a corner of like 2 halls that at the elevator, and we were just all there. People constantly complained that we were too loud.
They did,
and
because we were.
And I walk in, and like everyone's hugging my neck because they just knew how important Blake was to me, and I certainly wasn't related to you guys by blood, but y'all were just so sweet, Miss D especially, so sweet and including me on everything and like treating me like I was part of the family.
We basically are.
Yeah, and I really felt that way about y'all anyway, so to be there with y'all for such a terrible time, it just was... It was devastating. I've never been anything as difficult as it was. I dealt with the worst depression of my life that next semester. I started to have to see a counselor for it, a therapist. And I don't see her all the time, but I certainly did in the beginning. And, you know, I tried to tell jokes during that week, and I told stories to make people laugh. But, like...
It was hard. It still is.
Oh, it's so hard. And seeing someone there, like, just this person you knew and...
like your whole life.
And the thing that, like, made me the saddest in the beginning... Thank you. The thing that made me the saddest in the beginning was... At the beginning of the trip, during that week, he had texted me. And I never responded.
Oh.
And he was like, hey, buddy, like, when are you coming back to Clinton? Coming back to school, and I forgot to respond. I just was like, I'll message him later. I'm not coming back for another weekend. It was probably the next weekend that I was going to come home. Not the weekend we got back from the trip, but the weekend after, and just didn't text him back. And I finally did text him back, but I did the math, and he would have already have been unconscious by the time I texted him back. Like, already would have been. Not that would have changed anything. Like, you just think about all the things that you
could have done,
regretted, that sort of thing. And there's always stuff like that in our minds. We even went through the possibilities of, like, what if we had sent someone earlier? Like, you know, that sort of thing. But nothing could have been done.
I mean, the only thing is, like... I'm glad Miranda did, like, say something to you, like, ask you if you were anywhere near there, because then if she hadn't, nobody ever would have been there, and... It
would have been way later.
He probably might not have
survived at all. Like, I know, and we even did the math thinking about, well, what if we had, like, sent someone else sooner or something? But literally everyone that morning either had work, was still asleep. Like, we literally sent out someone the moment someone could be sent out, someone that lived nearby.
It was just one of those things that couldn't be avoided.
Yeah, and it's changed me a lot. I
feel like it's changed everybody.
All of us. It really has, because you never expect that, like... You never expect it. I made so many friends from that week at the hospital. So many friends from JDRF, especially. Got to meet some of Blake's best friends that went there, you know, and just...
I just kind of thought about something. You know the post they put up at his grave? When me, my mom, and my dad went up there, and like when some of the people from JDRF were putting up like kind of a mailbox thing to put like notes and stuff in.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And when we were there, it was kind of funny because they brought like this box of Taco Bell, and it was like really early in the morning, so they were trying to find any Taco Bell that would like serve them tacos.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of funny.
Yeah.
But for me, like the whole thing with Blake, it all started like I was at school, and me and my friend Nathan, we've been friends since like 3rd grade, so we were planning on like him go over to my house that day and we'd hang out for a bit. And we got there, and we walked in the house, and my dad was sitting in my parents' room, and he was crying, and I didn't know what was going on. and he told me, like, that Blake was in the hospital and that he was in a coma. And I didn't know how to react at first. I just kind of, like, I honestly was just like, oh, and kind of tried to ignore it and hang out with my friend. And I kind of regret that because, like, I feel like I should have been there with my dad, but at the same time, it was like, I didn't want to deal with that right that moment.
Like, how do you even process something like that? Like, it's just...
And so, my mom had taken... Like, we have 2 cars, but one of our cars wasn't working at the time. And, well, it was messing up, and my dad didn't want to drive in the first place because he was so upset about it. And, like, my dad wasn't even Blake's real dad.
His birth father. But...
And that just shows how much, like, he cared. And
well, Blake saw him as his actual father, basically, so...
But, like, my dad's parents came to get us, and I hate this because, like, we were on our way, and we had to pull into, like, a gas station because the car was, like, breaking down on our way there. So it took a while for anybody to get there to fix the car, and it just took us so long to get there. And when we finally did get there, it was so late. I don't remember if I ever got to see Blake that night or not, but the first time I did, I broke down, and, like, I went back there to talk, and I just broke down, and I hated it. And I just kept hoping he would wake up, like everybody did. And I got back after he passed away, and when I went back to school, like, maybe 2 weeks later, and a few people knew what was going on, but not many people knew. So a bunch of people were just kind of like, hey, where have you been? Like, what was going on? And the most difficult part about it was telling people. It wasn't going through that. It was just having to explain to them that my brother had died. And, like, teachers and stuff. My mom had told my teachers, and it was also hard having people just say that they were sorry.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I was angry, I was sad, and I hated it. And, like, people would say, I'm sorry. And I honestly just wanted to say, why are you sorry? There's nothing you could have done. Nobody could have done anything. Just, like, yell at them. And now, like, I realize I should be upset, but at the same time, I should be happy that he was my brother and that I got to be around him.
Definitely. I definitely understand that. People would tell me a lot at the time, pray to God was like my trigger phrase during that time. Because I am a Christian, and I did pray to God, and I honestly believe that God got me through it because I had this, like, after the first night of just bawling my eyes out over Blake in the bed, like, I just, like, was crying nonstop. It was miserable. But after that, I had such a peace on my heart, and I just kept praying to God, and I kept, like, asking for that, and I just had this, like, a peace is, like, literally the best way to describe it, like a peace that passes all understanding, because, like, I can't explain it, but I was just, like, that's how I was able to tell my jokes, and it was still sad, and I still felt miserable, and when we had the conversation about pulling the plug, and I cried again, because it was just the saddest thing to even have to decide to do. But
were you in the room when he actually passed away? You were?
That was also not fun, because
I couldn't remember if you were there, if you had left.
Yeah, I was in the room then, because if you were you there when it happened?
I was,
because it, like, hours passed after the plug was pulled, and he was still breathing on his own. He was still
there. I mean,
the problem was the part of his brain that causes normal functions was still, like, active enough that he was breathing on his own at that point, but the rest of his brain was fried. And that being said, I had already prayed to God. I had already gotten that peace, and so people were like, I'm so sorry, just pray to God about it, like, he'll see you again, or, like, Blake wouldn't want you to be upset about this.
No, he definitely would. He wanted so much attention all the time.
Well, that was my mentality. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. You know? I miss my best friend, and I miss my brother, and it doesn't matter what, like, don't tell me to do these things. I understand the importance of saying it. I understand there's nothing else you can say, but just don't say it. Like, I don't want to hear it right now. And
honestly, with me, like, people telling me, like, trust God, he'll do something with it. That, like, honestly, that made me mad, because if I'm being 100% honest, at that point, I felt like God didn't care, or that even God didn't exist, because I didn't understand why he would let that happen. But now I realize that it brought everyone together.
It brought so many people together. It brought, with the JDRF and us, and church family, and friends and family, it brought us all together. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting married in a few months, and if it weren't for Blake's passing, I may not have ever had that coffee with Mary, and I may not have ever started dating her. And I'm not saying that Blake's passing is a good thing.
It isn't.
I'm just, it's the worst thing that could possibly happen. But I'm saying that God really does
use stuff like
use
that.
things like that. Not that God caused it, or not that God, meant for it to happen. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, not that he did it for any reason, but just that there really are positives and things that God does that, and I mean, there's a very real possibility I would have met Mary. I already known Mary for a year or so. We were already friends. So there's a very real possibility it still would have happened. I'm just saying
but
that
you never know. I mean,
you don't. And well, either way, Blake lived a wonderful, happy life, and I actually struggle a lot with the wedding, because he was supposed to be my best man, and the uncle to my kids, and everything else, and
the Grunkle Stan.
He's the Grunkle. He's gonna be the Funkle, fake uncle, but yeah, and he's
the Dunkle, the diabetic uncle.
Dunk it on. But anyway, he's not going to be there. My little brother is actually going to be my best man, because I don't want to have to choose between my second best friends. And it's rough, but I also know that I'm thankful to God and to all of us. I'm just thankful in general that we've all been able to push past it. And
I'm happy we got to know him. I mean,
oh, for sure. I wouldn't have changed that at all.
I feel like without Blake, a lot of things would be different in our lives. I wouldn't be traumatized.
I'd be happy, honestly.
I'd have more food.
Probably friends. No, that was the thing, is like, he helped me grow into who I was at that point, but then him passing helped me grow into who I am today. And I mean, grew so much in maturity and just understanding
goofiness.
and honestly, like, confidence, and like, it, it's not a positive thing, but I'm glad that we were able to make some positive things out of it. And that's what he honestly would have wanted.
And hey, if that had never happened, we'd never have that awesome picture we have for The Walking Dead with me on your shoulders.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I don't know.
And, but anyway.
I'm glad we got to make this video.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me, buddy.
Of course.
We'll record more Walking Dead sometime soon, so be sure to check out the series if you want to see more of me and Dallas. And also watch the series with me and Blake. And if you happen to watch any of those episodes, comment your favorite times of him.
And watch the videos with him and Mary.
Yeah, those are also videos with me and my fiance. They are adorable. And actually, the Outlast video is like in the top 10 viewed videos on my entire channel.
Is it really?
Yeah, which
Wow.
is pretty nuts, because I only posted it like a few weeks ago.
Where's The Walking Dead on that list?
I couldn't tell you. Like, I think episode 1 is like decently close to that, but the other ones are nowhere near. Anyway,
I don't care that much.
yeah,
I mean,
it was a lot of fun.
I just had fun making it.
Oh yeah, definitely. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what other vlogs I should talk about. What other things I should talk about in vlogs. I haven't done these for a while, but
If you want to hear more stories from our lives, just let us know.
yeah.
They don't even have to be about Blake. We have other stories.
Yeah, we know other people, so thanks for
Yeah,
watching.
we're not that antisocial.
Yeah, geez, stop judging us. Anyway,
We really are, though. Kidding.
you got anything you want to add? You don't have to.
Don't chase your brothers with hot metal objects.
Yeah, and don't convince them that you've eaten their sister.
And don't let them steal stop signs.
Oh yeah, don't condone that, or let them
Light ping pong balls on fire. Or burn a hole in the carpet.
Yeah, don't.
Basically, if any stories you heard today, do not replicate them. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.